What's up, y'all? We're gonna be checking out Marshall X Chinx OS with the horror stories. We got the horror stories, especially with Marshall and Chinx and OS, and just from the horror stories to Marshall X Chinx and from the OS, especially when it comes to this right here and everything else too. With horror stories, especially with this one right here, because I didn't actually see this one, so this one really, man, caught me, because I didn't see the horror and everything else too, especially from the horror to the horror stories, and from Chinx to OS to Marshall, and especially with this one right here just being with everything else too, with many from this one right here and everything else too, especially from the horror to the stories.
It was one of sticks.
That code, you done it again. That code, you done it again.
It was one of sticks by I didn't need scales. Now I want it gone quick. Prefer wholesale. My killie said he's got a fours. It's got no bells. If it ain't got men, can't get. It was one of sticks by I didn't need scales. Now I want it gone quick. Prefer wholesale. My killie said he's got a fours. It's got no bells. If it ain't got men, can't get no cells. They got me through a juicing, calling it a stretching. I didn't want to boot in.
They got me from a juicing to a booting, and especially with that too, from the juicing and everything else too, from the bootings and that right there, from the juice and everything else too, especially with that, like it'd be a lot of, man, it'd be a lot of just kamikaze coming from that and everything else too, especially with that, because man, it was the whole thing, especially when it just comes into the whole thing, but man, from the juices and everything else too, and from those.
I didn't need scales. Now I want it gone quick. Prefer wholesale. My killie said he's got a fours. It's got no bells. If it ain't got men, can't get no cells. They got me through a juicing, calling it a stretching. I didn't want to boot in. Went there with show toes, came back with the boot-ons. They should really get their shoot on, but they're chicken like Goujon. Tell me how we lose one, and everybody moves on. I promise if they land here, I'ma put my shoes on. Take my mind back 12 years and proper get my groove on. We chose this, we live it. My memory is vivid. It's a mind of a prison. I grew up kinda different. I didn't like a motive. I prefer the mission. I was going with my kitchen, just playing my position, sliding and sinning. Knives always dripping. I had a lightsaber. He should have had his lifesaver with him. Left me at my worst. It won't matter now. Probably matter more when I touch the curbs. I grabbed the HB, half a chicken, half a bird, mash with him. Left me at my worst. It won't matter now. Probably matter more when I touch the curbs. I grabbed the HB, half a chicken, half a bird. Masher works first. Think about the consequences afterwards. Man, it's hard to hurt. Time made me numb. I never had no butter. Bro, I had to.
What do you say? Time made him numb and everything goes too. I know everything hurts and everything goes too. Especially how they got the whole movement going too. Like, they got everything just, and the movement thing too. Especially how everything else is just how it is, and how everything else is Fitbit. Like, especially with that whole point, like you got a whole thing just happening. Like,
curbs, I grabbed the HB, half a chicken, half a bird. Masher works first. Think about the consequences afterwards. Man, it's hard to hurt. Time made me numb. I never had no butter. Bro, I had to make me some. Child of the jungle, the system when I made me one. I ain't coming home, AE1. I can tell you what AE done. He was fresh home and gave a OPP a dangerous cut. I tagged it too. Went home with matching boots. All for poops. Go there and crash the booth.
I know the way, so I ain't gotta plan my route. The cannon's on me, so I don't need a camera crew. I don't really think you see it from my point of view. You can't put an application in to join the crew. This is mob ties, G-locks and long knives. Spin the block twice, praying that an op dies. It's on site, that's anytime we lock eyes. Can't put an application in to join the crew. This is mob ties, G-locks and long knives. Spin the block twice, praying that an op dies.
Man, G-locks and everything else too. G-locks and long knives, especially with them sticks. Like, hey, everything else be long, and man, G-locks and everything else. You can't spin the hey, you can't spin the block and everything else too. Especially with the whole thing too. Like, it just comes into that whole thing. Like, hey, especially how everything else is just gonna play in with it. Like, especially with this, because I feel like this got a little miss to it, a little mystery, like especially with everything else just really just coming all in place. And
spin the block twice, praying that an op dies. It's on site, that's anytime we lock eyes. We cause grief cause many of them lost lives. I've seen them teardrops, blood shed and years lost. So they can never have me scared, I only fear God. Hear what? I got a phone call from Marshall, still sending postals and parcels. I was on the yard in the marsh too. You ever put a pack inside your asshole? More than a half full. Hotting up the blue phone, I couldn't get a Zanko. Moved about a half bird, chicken like Nando's. Jail shanks are hard work, we couldn't get Rambos. Wanna sticks by eye. I was selling and smoking, getting high. They say that time flies, but that shit don't even drive. I'm still saying free the guys, you don't know what this feeling's like.
That cold, you done it again.
hey, they were going in though with this right here. They were spazzing, especially with the whole thing. I'm definitely seeing this one right here from Marshall and everything else too. From Marshall to Chinx to horror stories and everything else too, especially when it comes to this. But especially from the Marshall and from Chinx to OS to horror stories. This one was a little, this one had a little different thing to it, especially how everything else was just like clamming and everything else too with this one. But especially from the horror stories to Marshall to X, Chinx, and OS. So we had a whole thing with this, everything else too, but especially from this one right here and everything else too, and everything else too coming to this one. But make sure you guys comment and like